I've been around this kind of motions since 1992. At least so many of these guys were around at that time, and I saw how they do their business. But the one they are doing now is what they call monkey business. Is going after bananas.
What do you mean? What do you mean by monkey business?
Well, monkey business is the business of monkeys trying to jump as high as possible to catch bananas. Or monkeys putting their hand into a bottle and then try to bring out something, and then instead of letting it go, their hand is stuck there. So that's my own definition. Monkey business might be different in reality, but that's my definition of what these guys are doing. Yeah.
Okay, so while I get that, some persons will say that history sometimes should be followed and see how coalitions and formations are being achieved. You look at, for example, in 1964, where the likes of United was it UPGA and the Action AG Alliance, where they formed that alliance. Of course, maybe it didn't achieve its goal. You looked at in 1979, where you have the NPN and the NPP, where eventually the alliance pushed through. I think the one that didn't really push through was that of in 2003, where ANPP and AD wanted to form a coalition to let PDP out of power. Then the one that really everybody's talking about is that of 2013.
But before 2013, there was an attempt, and it's similar to this, by Bola Tinubu. In 2011, I think it's 2011, when Jonathan was running, they presented Nuhu Ribadu as a presidential candidate, but they were doing it to negotiate. Yes, they were doing it to negotiate with Jonathan. The real thing was that they just wanted Jonathan to drop something for them, and when they brought Nuhu Ribadu, Jonathan reached out to them, did the necessary deal, and they just gave Nuhu Ribadu one state, Osun State. He couldn't even win Lagos State, because when the deal was done, they made sure everybody in Lagos voted for Jonathan. That's how Jonathan became president in 2011. So I'm just telling you that going to SDP is similar to that. Are you getting my point? Because apart from the SDP, there's no coalition being brought to the SDP. It's just a standalone party that they say, okay, we're moving there. They're not asking the SDP to join the PDP or asking any other political party to join the SDP. It's just the SDP standing alone. And they said we're moving there. Just like the ACN was standing alone. In 2011, they came and appointed Nuhu Ribadu. Was it 2011 they appointed that Nuhu Ribadu was their candidate?
Yes, it was 2011.
Yeah. So, and that was done to negotiate with Jonathan. So, well, you can go find out. And so that's why I'm telling you that I know when I can tell characteristically when this is about negotiation. They will choose one political party. All of them will threaten to go there. Some of them will actually go there. And then the person who is in government will panic and say, hey, what's going on? You guys are friends. So they might pretend to be in SDP, but there's nothing that will happen from SDP. But everybody who knows SDP very well understands that Tinubu has unbelievable influence on SDP, because it was SDP that he was going to use where he was afraid that Buhari might kick him out of my Muslim out of APC during the primaries. That was the alternative party. I'm not in any way suggesting that everybody in SDP is working for Tinubu. Don't get me wrong, but he knows that party very well, and I guess that is why they're just waiting for some of them, according to the second definition of monkey business. So they throw something in the bottle for the monkey puts his hand, try to pull it out, it's stuck. Instead of letting it go, because the monkey is there, he's stuck inside the bottle. It's like his hand is stuck in the cookie jar, trying to get too many cookies. So that might be it this time around.
Okay. Oh, all right. So I think that I get your point. Where you try to highlight what you mean by the monkey the monkey. Now I now understand what you mean by that. But I want to ask you, if you are approached, for a coalition, would you go?
I have been very clear about the kind of coalition I will go for or go with. I'm not going to go to a coalition in which people that have fought against my entire life are part and parcel. I can't be part of a coalition where there's Mustafa, the guy who shot and killed Kudirat, and probably could have shot and killed me during the same time if they could find me. A coalition with El-rufai who buried 300 Shiites in one night and done. And probably could have shot and killed me during the same time if they could find me. It's in the coalition with El-rufai who buried 300 Shiites. Oh, what's going on there?
This one.
Okay.
This one on the program.
All right. So that should go live people. Sorry, I got kicked out. I don't know what happened.
I think it was network.
Okay. So these characters are not the kind of people I can go into coalitions with. It would stand against what I stand for ideologically. It would stand against my conscience and my conviction. So that's not the kind of coalition. But there are enough people who are not within political parties that are conventional that we can coalesce with to win this election if we are going for election. And they are the ordinary people, the Nigerian people, the pensioners, the market women, students, workers, everybody who is just changing the country can form a coalition. That's the kind of coalition I'm looking for. People who genuinely want to see a different country, not people who want more of the same. That's what these people are. People who have been tested and have failed consistently. Former vice president, former governors, former senators. They're the ones who put this country the way it is today. So don't make any mistake about it. I can't come this far, and all I want is to be in a coalition with people like El-rufai, Atiku, Peter Obi, and the people that I have publicly renounced and denounced several times.
So are you saying that if, for example, a Peter Obi who is the sensational man of the moment on social media, and some person see Peter Obi as, okay, yeah, I think he can do it. If he reaches out to you, because I remember in 2024, I think it was in 2023 or so, I think you debunked such story that you wouldn't go in coalition with Peter Obi.
So just to be clear, when Peter Obi was Atiku's vice president, he called me and asked me to support them. I rejected it. In 2022, he sent Doyin Okupe, who is now late, to call me to support him. I rejected it. So it's not something that is new. There's not like rave of the moment, or anybody can be rave of the moment. That's people just make all these assumptions that they don't make sense in my view. Buhari used to have 12 million votes in every election cycle for 3 different times, and you don't call I really joined him. So why would I join Peter Obi because you ascribe to him the rave of the moment? I don't believe that the solution of Nigeria is something that has to do with the rave of the moment. It has to be a perpetual wave of consistent, very, very engaging and connecting visionary leadership. I'm not carried away by what you describe as rave of the moment. I don't.
So you don't see any of these leaders solely as people who have vision for the country.
If they did, and this is important, their vision would have somehow been explained by their past activities or leadership. And I have asked this question so many times. Would you go and live in Kaduna where El-Rufai spent 8 years as governor? Your answer would probably be no. Not even probably, it would be outright no. Because you are not likely to even make it to Kaduna from Abuja anyways by road in former El-Rufai's enclave. Would you today pack your things and go and live in Anambra State where Peter Obi was governor for 8 years? Your answer would be no. Would you send your children to go to school there? No. Would you send your children to go to Kaduna school? No. Would you want a repeat of the Nigeria that Atiku was vice president? Your answer would be no. Would you want to send your children to Kano where Kwankwaso was 8 years with Kwankwaso? Your answer would be no. So what about these guys is actually appealing to you guys, or those of you keep asking this question? What is the evidence that when they had a chance to prove for 8 years, you can't say that, my goodness, this is what they did. Some guys took Dubai from desert to one of the best cities in the world. Some young guy. You can tell that within 12 years that was achieved. And by 8 years, it was clear that Dubai was headed in that direction. But each of these guys, you keep repeating their names, failed in their jobs. They were the ones who didn't pay minimum wage even when they approved it. They're the ones who didn't build schools. They didn't build no hospitals. They built no roads. If they did, they were substandard. They didn't create any value or add value to the human beings under which that they governed. So why do you keep repeating their question in front of me? I don't know. Is there something hidden that we don't know, that you guys know, that you're not telling the public about their prowess to lead? Because the places that they've been asked to lead, they failed in their assignments. So why do you keep acting as if you don't know?
So it's not like majority of Nigerians don't know. I think that one of the major things for Nigeria is that they wanted some sort of change from what we used to know. And I can also understand that maybe it's just a recycling of leaders that we are having. But how do we move away from recycling leaders and having genuine leaders who are really have a vision for the country?
That is the conversation we should be having. It's the conversation every one of you should honestly be having. We are having a conversation of helplessness right now. Of like, I think the problem with us, especially those of us who are educated enough to have this conversation, is that we are too afraid to make the leap. We are too afraid of the unknown, I guess, that you are comfortable with the known devils, known deadly people, and you defend them with gusto. Sometimes you defend them with your life. You want people to keep believing that somebody who was governor for 8 years, who said, I never built a school, should become the president of Nigeria, so that he will destroy the rest of the school, or the guy who ran a state where he paid terrorists to come to his state, and he was paying them with taxpayers' money, public money. You keep referring to them as if they're some beautiful bride. The truth is that I'm tired of the kind of dishonest conversation that has been perpetrated about these guys. Why can't you just all say the truth, that these guys are not ideal because you tested them, they failed? And let's find an alternative. And the alternatives are there. Some of you are alternatives. You're smarter than these guys. You're stronger than them. But you keep, you're 200 million people, and you keep putting your destiny in the hands of people who swore that they will always just change you, that they will destroy you. You keep going back to them. And then you go to the bottom of the bag and you look and say, all these apples are rotten. Yeah, but this one is rotten on one side. Let me bite it and hope that I don't get bacteria. And then down the road, when you start getting cholera, you're like, it was the best I could find. But then there's a whole full bag of new apples, but because they weren't the type that you're used to, you don't want to try them, you don't want to test them. I'm just using that as an analogy to tell you how this argument is tiring. Like, oh, why didn't you try Kwankwaso? Why don't you try Atiku again? Why don't you try Peter Obi again? Can't you tell that these guys are tired? They themselves are tired people. They don't have any new messages to give you. They have no new ideas. There's no vision. They don't have any mission. They are tired. I'm sure that they're hoping that you will get rid of them. You will. I'm not saying kill them, but like you just push them off the rack and start on a clean slate. There's no problem with starting with new hands. I don't think there's anything that can be worse than what these guys have done to Nigeria since independence in terms of terrible leadership. Don't you know what 8 years is in the life of a nation, a state? Right? So why we stuck with this very tired argument about, oh, don't you think we should try him? Yes, we know he failed, but he didn't totally fail, He only paid half of the salary of the workers, or he actually paid some workers, but some workers went on strike. He couldn't have paid somebody who was on strike for 13 months, honestly, I don't know how to help you. I'm sorry to say this, and I don't mean to. I don't mean to.
I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point. I really do get your point, because that's always has been the conversation, to have some infusion of fresh ideas who can better the lives of the citizens of this country. But it now looks as if some sort that people who are supposed to have that conversation are not even ready to have the conversation.
Because any kind of conversation that would be far-reaching, needs a number of factors or parameters. The people who want to have those conversations must be honest themselves. They must be sound, I think, intellectually to some extent. They must they must have conviction and some bit of ideology. I don't want to go too deep into ideology so that people will not say that, well, you're trying to you want to turn me into a socialist or something. I'm not. But you must, at least at the minimum, have some conviction that you really want change. If you want change, I'm not talking about chicken change of APC or whatever change they introduce. You'll be willing to test new ground. Are you getting my point? Because everything that we're lashing on here today were things that people tested. Even the internet, I'm sure, Facebook, TikTok, all of the social media platforms today. Somebody tried to test it out. And then it worked. But if they sat there and said, look, we're not going to leave typewriters, we're going to keep improving typewriters, wear shoes for them, make them higher, let the keys be fancier, but we're going to be stuck with typewriters. We won't have laptops today, and we won't have devices that can do the job of laptops. We won't have servers. The thumbnail that is 1 terabyte today. To get a terabyte of data storage some 20 years ago, you had to build a house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So if you want to live in the future, why do you keep electing people who believe in a 1 terabyte of a big house when you have people who can have conversation about even a thumbnail that is 10 terabytes in size? I'm talking about storage now. So, and we're now discussing air taxi. We're discussing electricity in such a way that it's diversified. There are mini grids. We're discussing monetary policies that are no longer about central banks. And you keep voting for people who are commercial retail bankers who don't even understand that there's blockchain technology, who ban cryptocurrency, who do everything. People are still banning Twitter 2 years ago. Those are your candidates, and that's what you want to force me to come and discuss. I'm sorry, I don't want to have this conversation anymore. I'm just tired of it. it feels like we are all trapped in a time lapse that is self-inflicted injury. We just refuse to get out of we just it's like we find ourselves in this big hole, and instead of just handing ourselves a ladder and getting out of it, we kept asking people to give us fancy diggers. Just like that very popular English adage that or the proverb that the forest voted for the axe, and it said, "Why would you vote for an axe?" It said, "Can't you see that the handle is made of wood?" And since the axe was voted for, every tree has fallen. So
Exactly.
that's what Nigerians are doing to themselves. And I just don't find it interesting anymore to keep perpetuating the same conversation. So what do you think? What do you think about the old guys? What about the one that's not too old? What about the one that just limps? Is it not better than the one that's on wheelchair? And the one that has his brain removed? Is that one not better because he can play table tennis at least? Even if he doesn't have brain, at least he's got hands and legs. And then you have a bunch of, and I'm not mocking anybody for providing form of age-related disability, but I'm just saying that that's how we keep recycling the excuses so that they can recycle themselves. So it then appears as if it is not them that something is wrong with. Something is wrong with the majority of us who can't even bail out of this kind of very backward conversations. And when you are futuristic about this, and because they can't understand, they say, "Oh, Sowore is working for Tinubu because he say he doesn't believe in the coalition. Just engage in blackmail and try to blackball you because you don't support their agenda." But I don't work for anybody. I'm working for myself. I'm working for my conscience, and I'm sure they know it as well. They know that I'm not in their circles. I don't exist in those circles. I don't meet with them. I don't have any relationship with them. I don't know them, and I don't want to know them. But I believe there are enough Nigerians out there who can take the right course, and they are the ones I keep appealing to. That's why I work all the time. I talk to people. I just say, "Hey, why don't you just bail out of this? Because it's possible to do so. That a different world is possible just around the corner."
Yeah.
But you can't want to move and you get yourself inside a bus because it's fancy when you know there are no tires in it. How do you move from location A to B?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I want us to also look at this issue, and I know that you have also spoken about it, but it looks as if it's not about to leave us for now, and that is, of course, the issue of the. I remember when you came last week, you talked about it, the issue of the state of emergency in Rivers State, and for you think that the president didn't take the right decision to go that route. What do you think should have been done in this case?
I think I was clear, and I have been clear that there is no need for a state of emergency in Rivers State. Rivers State state of emergency wasn't declared because there was emergency, but it was an overriding interest of a former governor of Rivers State, Omoyele Sowore, that led the president to lend his hand to that impunity. And there's no, and we know it. The best excuse they had was that there was some pipeline bombing by militants, and that the governor knew it was going to happen. He didn't report it. But the governor had no control over the military and the police as such. His name is Chief Security Officer of the state. In name, he doesn't control any. He's not the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. It's the job of the president. And if that were to hold, then there should be a state of emergency across Nigeria, because those security concerns are also present in Borno, in Delta State, in Edo State, in Rivers State, in Sokoto State, in Katsina State, in Kaduna State, in Plateau State, in Benue State. There's emergency everywhere. So why don't we just declare a state of emergency and remove the president and his deputy and suspend the National Assembly, just like the president did in Rivers State? But that's why the politics of personal interest is dangerous and should never be encouraged in any country. That's why you don't hand over your country to people whose only interest is personal interest.
So if we suggest, like you said now, the president should also declare a state of emergency, who is going to rule the country?
Oh, does this country look like it's being ruled by anybody? You know, it's a governmentless country, anyways. But we can rule the country by ourselves. We can handle that. We can have a people's assembly to run the country until we have a new constitution, and then we can organize ourselves properly. It's not a difficult thing, you know. I said it even on the show last week. We were there that I can run this country on my laptop for a while. I don't need an office. I just need internet, and everything will be going fine. You won't have to deal with all the people scampering around on the highway. I'm not proposing military dictatorship. Don't get me wrong, because I don't support the military. I do not support military takeover of power. Not again in my life will I support military rule. But that's not a difficult thing. The people should decide how they want to be run, and they can do that and do that temporarily. It's nothing. It's no big deal. There's nothing they are doing anyway now to show that there's government. Nothing.
You make it look as if it's very simple, like governance system.
It is simple.
Because even the United States are still battling some issues, you know.
No, some of the people who are running Nigeria, and I'm not afraid to say they are the most brainless people I've met. I'm sorry, I've never met most of them. I've heard about in the world. If you look at their policies, their pronouncements, if it is not simple, why is it that non-entities can run states? You know, idiots are running the place. They're in the Senate. I took on some northern governors when they shut down schools for Ramadan, right? And it turns out that most of the governors that shut down their schools for Ramadan have PhDs. You know, so these are educated illiterates or illiterate, uneducated people. I mean, literate but uneducated. So if you have those people running for states, you know, we can as well just tell you that these are not people who are fit and proper to run a state from top to bottom. So we can find people who can. There's nothing difficult about. You see, there's nothing difficult about doing what you have budgeted for your budget, right? If I say I want to construct a road from here to Calabar, Lagos to Calabar, and I don't budget for it, it's legal, right? If I budget for it, I should be able to do it within the framework, the time frame that I said I would do it. Yes. But when you take all the money for and claim that it's 700 kilometers long, but you're actually planning a 47-kilometer highway from Lekki to Dangote refinery, it might look difficult. You know, it makes it look as if it's a difficult country to run, but that was your intention in the first place. Very hideous. So, there's nothing difficult about the country that's just one state in the U.S. Nigeria is the size of Alaska, just one state, and there are 50 states in the U.S. plus outlying territories like what is the president of the U.S. One person is the president of a state here, divided into 36 states, and then you have local government that they don't even allow you to, they are not allowed to operate. So the fact that we are in a state of anomy or dysfunction is the reason why most of you think that government is complex or governance is complex.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said the reason all of you start saying that governance is complex because Nigeria is a dysfunctional system. So they have confused you to the point that they make everything look difficult to you. Like it's so hard, It's so hard to get up. You probably even empathize or sympathize with them for getting out of bed on your behalf to go to work that they are paid for or elected to do. Nigeria is the only country where people praise governors for paying salaries. I think they are doing that. Somebody went to work and they're hired. Why would they be praising the governor for paying their salaries? Why would the governor go and be commissioning a road? When the way to commission a road is to start driving on that. So there's a lot of very terrible, stupid things that people do here, and we kind of excuse and justify them by saying, "Oh, it's complex." There's nothing complex about that. There's nothing complex about running Nigeria.
Okay, so because I try to, I just try to come from that point of view, and I'm also looking at the state of insecurity in the country. Some persons will say that one of the mantra of this government is that they were going to provide security for the people. But that's not happening as of now. How do you think that we need to start having, we need to have a good security? One of the things I want to put towards you, I remember that you spoke about the IG, and you said that, he's illegally occupying that position currently.
Yes.
But how do you ratify all of that, to have a structured security system where everything functions well?
Security is not something that you take and just take one, break into pieces and take one piece and hope that you get security. The root cause of insecurity is the first thing you address: poverty, inequality, and mismanagement of resources. Without addressing those things, you are addressing the symptoms of insecurity without addressing the issue. Because the first security I will focus on is not the national security I will talk about. We are guarding our borders, we don't want anybody to enter, we want to kill anybody that says, they don't like us. That's not security. My type of security is in which people have electricity, they have jobs, they have ability to afford things, send their children to school, they have access to medicine. That is more of the kind of economic security we need first and foremost. That's the first investment we need to make before we start buying guns. Otherwise, the guns are going to be turned on the same poor people who are victims of mismanagement and terrible leadership. So, appointing an IG or extending the tenure of an IG who is already tired, and you take him away from retirement, is killing the police, which is the largest security agency in the country in terms of size and reach and even power in terms of lawful power. The police is empowered to do everything. Even all these ad hoc agencies like EFCC, ICPC, civil defense, the police has the capacity to handle their job. That is why whenever these organizations want to look for help, they still go back to the police to come and help them arrest some of the more difficult criminals who are engaging in financial crimes or physical crime in the country. But when you put a tired person in place. People who have no idea or who have run out of energy. You are just perpetuating security. But I know that Egbetokun was not kept in office because he has special skills. They are keeping him in office as a loyal servant of Tinubu for 2027 election. That is the truth. They want to make sure that he's there as a police IG to help them do whatever they want to do in 2022, because it's becoming clearer to them that they may not be able to face the people and defeat their opponents, people like us, in free and fair elections. So they need extra powers to do that, and that is what the Egbe tokens of this world are meant for. But the other part of it is that it is selfish on his part not to allow others to rise through all other persons that he joined the police with. As we speak, most of them have been retired. Some of them came out in the media last week and said it was because he thought they might become IG that he retired them. They don't retire from the position. So, and I know that's controversial. It's church matter. Church people don't like when you put mouth in their matter. But that's an example that we could use.
Yeah. Okay. But I think there was a report where they said that I think one of the House of Representative member actually sponsored a bill where there could be an extension of the Inspector General of Police. I think I read it, and I think that you replied to that. There was a reply from you to that particular person, but you still don't believe that there should be an extension of the IG.
You notice that since I replied to that particular fellow, you have not heard from him, right? He hasn't been able to defend his position, his laughable and ludicrous position. He hasn't replied me because he knew my position was correct in law, in practice, and that there will no comeback. So he hasn't responded since then, because he spoke directly to me and I replied directly to him, and I expected him to bring back where he found his own position to be legitimate, and he didn't come back because they knew what they did is wrong. You see, 35 years is when somebody should be wearing a uniform. If you're in the police, that's the point. But that's their own ground now, because we'll get rid of that as quickly as possible when we take our country back from these people and have a people-made constitution, not a ready-made constitution.
Okay. Lastly, I just want to talk on this matter. The Senator Natasha and the President of the Senate. It's looking like a caricature of, the Nigerian state.
What do you mean by caricature? I want you to break down the meaning of caricature so I know how best to respond to this.
Okay, so what I mean that the caricature of the Nigerian state, I mean that you look at how the matter is being handled, from both ends. You see the last one that happened at the Ethics Committee, where you have the former minister, Omoyele with the deputy chief, throwing tantrums at each other, throwing insult words to each other. And the whole world is watching, looking as if we can't handle our matters. That's why I said...
But that's the truth. That's what I said earlier. These guys who unfortunately are in charge of the country can't handle Nigeria. They can't handle anything. So what they do is they are wearing Natasha out. They are wearing anybody who's advocating for change in these places out. And it's a strategy. And like you said, and you are referring to now, it seems like their strategy is working. But it's not going to last. It's not going to last long because Nigerian people are tired of these shenanigans. And they will react one day. I don't know when, but it's just a matter of time. And I keep saying this, that every time they do more of this, we get closer to the revolution. And I mean it. I mean it. Because when you start seeing... Yeah.
Let me ask you a very particular question.
Go ahead.
Which do you prefer? A thorough process or a bad-mouthing to badmouth a policy or to badmouth a regulation to favor your cause? This is what I mean. Or maybe, do you understand what I mean?
I don't.
Okay, so this is what I mean. In the case of Senator Natasha,
yes,
there was a case of, okay, your seat was allocated and you were supposed to sit down on your seat.
Yeah.
But after which she didn't. And that became something else. And Exit Committee says, no, you have breached the code of conduct of the House. But she went ahead and, because it's still at an edge, it has not been proven yet, and says there's a sexual harassment case somewhere. So I'm saying that, don't you think that the process at which she was actually suspended is justifiable?
Have you ever heard of any national parliament in the world where somebody is suspended because they sat on another person's chair?
They said she had over the time.
No, I'm asking you. It's a simple question.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I've never even heard of a class teacher who has suspended a student for sitting on the wrong seat. On our desk. But sometimes when you don't come to class, the teacher will allocate your desk to another person who is punctual. And they will even ask you to start at the back of the class. So what I'm telling you is that this is all for hubris. How do a nation of 200 million people end up with characters who are more concerned about where a senator is seated? And to the point that the rules cannot you can't trump the people they are representing in the House. They are representing people in the national parliament, even though I've often said that part of the problem we have is that our legislative arm is too bogus, it's too big, it's too useless. Maybe we should just have 109 senators in a unicameral legislative system and call it a day and make it a part-time job so that people don't start fighting over seats. So, and if they allege that you are Senate President, you have been accused of sexual harassment, you could step down and allow the process to be thoroughly investigated, and if they find you not guilty, you come back. That is what people of conscience do, but you can't be a judge in your own court. So you can't be suspending somebody simply because they've accused you. And I'm not in any way saying that he's found guilty already. But there's sufficient evidence from other women in the past that he has a history of sexually harassing women. There was Joy.
He has also said that he was going to sue the other lady who said that.
Why didn't he sue? He was supposed to even sue Natasha, but instead he opted for his wife to sue on his behalf. And everybody knowing that today he's a lawyer, that you can't ask another party to sue for you in a case of defamation. You have to sue yourself. So is it not clear to you that something is missing? But I guess we should be thinking about how to wrap up because you said you asked the last question, and then you came with a point blank question. Yeah.
I just thought of that. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I hope to talk to you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right, but now that's a package to
Hey, TikTok, I've been on a show with,
Thank you for having me.
with a friend of ours who I met at, well, he said he's been a friend for a long time. One admirer who I met at TVC last week when I went there for an interview, which they tried to change, they changed the title to like making it sound like I supported Tinubu, and when I did fire back at them, they got back and said, hey, we're sorry, it was a mix-up. So he met me there and I agreed to come on his show tonight on Instagram. So that's the show we just ended. It's good to see you guys again. We fought another battle yesterday. Big battle. We keep fighting all these big battles and winning. And the battle was that of Osato, who they wanted to sacrifice for Tinubu's wife. That we all rescue. Thank you so much, everybody, for bonding together. That promise that we made to ourselves that anytime the police come and arrest somebody illegally, all of us are going to the station. That is what we're doing on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram these days. And that showed with the copper lady and Nurse Sato. They have now reversed themselves. We have to be vigilant. I'm aware that NYC may not have given up entirely. They're just watching. Even though they admitted internally that it was this lady that made it possible for coppers to now be collecting 77,000 naira. Can you imagine that? So also, there are some developments that we should announce. The DSS is now asking to explain why they are planning a protest for April 7th next month, which is a protest that is designed to be nationwide to ask for the repeal of the Cybercrime Act and I dare say the removal of the IGP who is illegally occupying his office. So DSS has started engaging in harassment already. Let all of us get ready. If they arrest one person, maybe the protest should start earlier than they are planned. Just get ready, keep mobilizing. It might be me. I know they'll be targeting, but I don't care about this. If they take anybody in, the protest starts on that day, and we don't know when it will stop. Just so that you know. So it's been nice talking to you. I didn't mean to leave early, but I would have loved to take one or two persons to just say hello tonight. Maybe just bring somebody up. Let's bring somebody up and let the person. Let's take two people. Yeah, let's take two people. All right. Who's there? If you're there, just jump in, announce your name, and let's just say hello and